The Stihl MS 170 and 180 chainsaws are some of the finest residential light-duty saws that you can buy. However, there's one major flaw that really lets them down. They have what are known as fixed jet carburetors. This means that regardless of the altitude, the ambient temperature, aging diaphragms, or slightly blocked fuel filters, you're unable to adjust the carburetor and thus fuel supply to meet the demands of the engine. Therefore, in today's video, I'm going to show you how to retrofit an alternative carburetor that's fully adjustable, and you don't need any specialist tools to do so. The first step is to set the multifunction lever to the full choke position. Then we turn the lock with a flathead screwdriver. From here, you can gently lift that top cover up and off the air filter housing, and then gently release it from the two securing lugs at the front of the chainsaw. The next step is to remove the air filter housing. Now, this is held in place by two M5 nuts, and they're removed with an 8mm socket. And now that they're both removed, you can simply slide that air filter housing away from the carburetor and off the two mounting bolts completely. To remove the throttle linkage next, we set that multifunction lever to the off position, then pull the trigger fully, and then place one finger on top of the throttle lever and then release that trigger. This disconnects the throttle linkage off the carburetor, and it then gives us the clearance to be able to remove the choke linkage. We now set the multifunction lever down one position, the run position, rotate the choke shaft 90 degrees anti-clockwise, ease the carburetor forward on its mounting bolts, and then pull the choke linkage horizontally out and off of the carburetor. Now that all the linkages are fully disconnected, we're free to remove the ground wire. And now the next step is to remove the fuel line, and just be aware that when you do this, make sure the tank is completely empty. If you don't, you're going to find that fuel will spray straight out of that fuel hose and likely cover you in it. The last stage now is to remove the multifunction lever completely, and you can do that just by prising up with a flathead screwdriver. On the left hand side, you slide it to the left and it will come out of the drilling that it's secured in on the right hand side. And now the carburetor is free to be slid away from the engine, along those mounting bolts and off the saw completely. The carburetor that we're going to replace it with is a Walbro WT215. Now, I've put a link in the description if you want to purchase one, and I do recommend that you stay away from the aftermarket alternatives. There are three simple modifications that we need to make to the carburetor to be able to retrofit it onto the chainsaw. The first one is to remove the small brass plug that's fitted on the face of the carburetor that mounts to the intake manifold. This plug can be pressed out quite easily from the inside out with nothing other than a pick. Simply remove that fuel pump cover and that will give you the access that you need. The next step is to seal off that small impulse drilling to the right hand side of the brass plug that we've just removed. Now in this case I've used JB Weld, but any fuel resistant adhesive or other epoxy is going to be absolutely fine. And do note that when you're replacing that fuel pump cover back onto the carburetor, that if the original one had a compensating snorkel, that you take it off that and put it onto your WT215. The last step is to bend that throttle linkage forwards just slightly to ensure that the butterfly can open fully. The original linkage doesn't give us that full travel. Therefore, it means that we won't be able to accelerate the engine to full throttle. We'll use a pair of pliers and we'll bend the forward tang of that throttle linkage just slightly. When you reinstall it, just do confirm that you are indeed getting the full throttle, and the top of the plate that the linkage goes through must touch the stop on the carburetor body. To make reassembly just that little bit easier, we're going to remove the two T20 Torx head screws from the side of the rear handle. This then gives you access to install the throttle linkage later on without any difficulty. And now we're going to slide the new carburetor back onto its mounting bolts. We can then install the fuel line next, and then we can install the multifunction lever, but just be sure to capture the steel tang at the same time that you install it. If not, it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to get access and lift that tang back up. We can now return the ground connector back into its housing, and then we can press that wire into its slot. We'll pull the carburetor forward now so that we can install the choke linkage on the left hand side. Next, on the right hand side of the carburetor, we can install the throttle linkage, both to the carburetor and the trigger assembly as well. The air filter housing can then be slid on next, and it's held in place with those two M5 hex nuts. And if you're using a torque wrench, the specification is 3.5 Newton meters. And now we'll put the top cover back on, firstly engaging it with the two lugs at the front of the chainsaw. Next, we're going to set the multifunction lever to the full choke position, and this just gives us clearance to lower that top cover down over that air filter. And then we can secure it to the air filter by turning that lock 90 degrees clockwise this time. And then we need to drill a few holes to give us access with a screwdriver to those carburetor adjustments. And although it's a little bit of a guessing game to align the holes with the carburetor adjustment screws, be patient, go slightly larger with the drill bit, and you'll find that you can get it quite accurate. It's so important now that we tune the carburetor to the engine. If we don't, the best case scenario is it probably won't run very well, and the worst case, you might damage that engine completely. Therefore, I've got this video up here which shows you exactly how to tune a chainsaw.